Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back with our next panel discussion on transit payments, the secret sauce for kickoff. Let me first introduce you to our moderator, Mr. Sandeep Lakshman. He's the head fintech from Amazon Internet Services. For the panelists, we have Mr. Abhijit Sehgal. He's the CEO from OnePay. Mr. Sajal Bhatnagar. He's the Chief Business Officer from Paytm Payment Banks. And Mr. Denny V. Thomas, Head of NETC and APS from NPCI. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box, and the panel will address selected questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Lakshman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shivani. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Digital Money. This is a fantastic discussion we're going to have right now. So while we start, why don't we, before we start, let's have a quick round of introductions from our panel with a bit of the background. Denny, would you like to go first?
Thanks, Sandeep. So first of all, a big thank you to the organizers for having me here. I'm Denny Thomas, currently the head of products for NETC, which is National Electronic Toll Collection, and Aadhaar Enabled Payment System, AEPS. So these are the two products I manage at NPCI. I've been part of the FASTag journey since the inception. So since 2016, I have been kind of leading this initiative and how we kind of have taken it forward. Prior to this, I was also involved in the transit projects, which was like, again, the first in the country done by Axis Bank, where we had kind of introduced the NCMC, National Common Mobility Card specifications in the country for the first time. So I was in a different avatar. I was on the implementation side with Axis Bank. So that's my brief background. Over to you, Sandeep.
Sajal, would you like to go next?
Yes, sure. So thank you, Sandeep. And let me also thank the organizers for having me here. So I have been with Paytm for about 6 years now. So when I say Paytm, it's basically Paytm plus other group companies. In my latest role, I am the Chief Business Officer of Paytm Payment Bank, handling quite a few projects, transit being one of the key ones among them. Before being at Paytm Payment Bank, I was also heading credit cards business for some time. I was part of payments team for a very long time, where I did business roles as well as product roles. So the interesting thing is that I was involved with payments and the start of whole QR code adoption journey when we got on board. So have a lot of experience in scaling up businesses, building from scratch, and going to a place where there's a bit of network effect, and can talk a lot about it from then. Before this, I was a management consultant for quite a while. So yeah, that's very briefly about me.
Thanks, Sajal. Our last panelist is Abhijit. Abhijit, I hope you can hear us and see us.
Okay. I can. Finally, I can hear now. So just to give you a small background about myself, I have 14 years of experience in the complete fintech space, and have been working with bigger companies like TechProcess and AsiaPace, where I've taken care as a national roles. I started my entrepreneurial journey with OnePay in the year 2016, when Sanjay and Sandeep, we met, and we wanted to do digitizing. We wanted to work on some products where we wanted to digitize the complete transportation industry, and that's when, thanks to NPCI, the FASTag had come into it, and we saw a great opportunity looking at the FASTag, and that's where we started building products for the Logitech on a backbone of our fintech, and that's where we started, and we are working very closely with partner banks and NPCI for that for ETC as a business. We also have our payments. As an expertise, we have our own proprietary payments also. So yeah, this is all about me, and yeah, to start with. So I am currently the CEO and co-founder of OnePay.
Thank you all. Thank you all for the fantastic introduction. Hi everyone. By the way, my name is Sandeep Lakshman. I head Amazon for the fintech at Amazon, and I've been in Amazon for around 4.5 years, which is considered a pretty decent time here. So please keep your questions coming. We're going to have a good panel. Please keep your questions coming. We will take it during the panel and at the end of the panel as well. But to start off with, we're going to talk about transit payments, but let's get the basics, right? So let's talk a little bit first about the basics. And Sajal, the first question is for me for you, right? Like, transit is such a complex topic because the system in India is so complex, right? Can you talk to us about some of the complexities and challenges in India's transit system, which have to be taken into consideration in order to build a payment system for them?
Thank you, Sandeep. So that's a very, very diverse and vast question, honestly. I'll take a step back and start by what exactly is transit and what covers the key contours of the ecosystem today, right? So there are effectively two journeys that we are talking about. The first journey we can probably talk about is a shared transit journey, where let us say a consumer gets into an auto to go to a metro station or to a bus stand, takes a metro, bus, or surface transport, then gets off, then takes a next journey, which is again an auto, taxi, rickshaw, whatever it is, to his final endpoint, right? So if you look at this journey, there are literally three hops that we're talking about, right? And three hops on three different platforms. I'll talk about the next journey first, and then probably I'll come on to the complexity and the challenges that the ecosystem face. So the next journey is probably a individual transit journey, where we can talk about the cars or the vehicle ecosystem. So this is where the tolling comes into place, right? So when a vehicle is on the road, you are paying for parking, you are paying for tolls, you are getting your refueling done at different point of time in the week. So again, like I said, there are multiple interactions that are also happening in this journey. Now, if you look at the whole ecosystem, right? At the end of the day, there are in any of the journey which I pick up, maybe shared transit journey or car journey, there are literally 2 to 3 hops that we are talking about, and 2 to 3 different architecture endpoints that we're talking about. A consumer might be taking 1 to 2 trips a day, right? So high frequency, high volume, different architecture system that we're talking about. And that's where the complexity lies, right? At the end of the day, to get a system working, you need a set of standards, which is uniform across the board. Here we are talking about different platforms, different solutions, different infrastructure, different stages of adoption even, right? Like I said, marrying a auto rickshaw payment or a taxi payment into a let us say a transit metro payment is such a diverse problem to solve. So the essence of the problem lies right here and right here itself, right? And next, now we move on a little bit deeper. Transit is all about speed and multiple transactions, right? At the end of the day, the need for getting a certain volume, a certain throughput of transactions done quickly is paramount. If let us say my transaction starts taking time or starts failing at a toll plaza, queuing starts happening up. And at the end of the day, the consumer, the merchant, or even the platform provider and the regulator, all 4 of them are unhappy, right? And what happens once they're unhappy is they start deplatforming, and my system starts failing. Same is true for metro, same is true for any other transit use case that we're talking about. So the beauty beyond that is also that the payments are happening at so many diverse locations, so many diverse places, that even the network connectivity itself might lead to this, even when you build such a Ferrari of a system, right? So basically, we are looking at so to summarize, what I was saying is that we are looking at so many platforms and high performance along these platforms to be delivered again in a very heterogeneous environment. Beyond this, one small point that I also want to add is that India is a bit of a laggard when it says in financial inclusion. There's a lot of population of our country who are not exactly on any traditional banking system or traditional financial system, right? And transit is one use case which basically touches across all the width of the country, starting from the lowest income groups to the highest income groups. Everyone is taking transit platforms in some way or other, right? So it's not just the complexity of the system, but it's also the immense opportunity of the system when you look at it, right? This is a system which can literally bring all of the country's population onto a single financial platform, a single financial standard, which can basically serve as a driver for so many other things, right? So to summarize, like I said, it's a complex problem to solve. It's an immense problem to solve, but it also has immense dividends once solved. So over to Sandeep.
That's a fantastic answer. And just to summarize, like what you're saying. So number one, the different modes of transport, right? So it's not just bus, train, auto rickshaw. You also have private and public, right? There is that. There are trains. There are metros. And this entire thing is built on systems that some of the systems which have been built 30 years ago, and some of them which have been built a few years ago. All of them which have been built in their own silos. And essentially you're trying to connect all of them together. That's a massive challenge, right? And I actually want to bring in Denny over here right now, because Denny, you have been involved in the DMRC project. You've been involved in coaching, right? I want you to talk about how transit payments can actually address these challenges, right? What was your experience? For example, when you rolled out FASTag, and what would be the best way to go about it?
Yes, Sandeep. In fact, when I was hearing Sajal, I was actually reliving those first 2-3 years of my FASTag implementation as well as my earlier transit implementation, because all those challenges have been there for very long, and in fact surprisingly it still exists today, and that's what makes this entire implementation all the more challenging. So I'll just quickly add 2 more points which to what Sajal had just mentioned. I think one of the major thing is also to do away with the intent of removing cash from the ecosystem in the transit space, because the biggest challenge is that obviously this entire cash collection methodology brings in a lot of inefficiency and also a lot of leakage. So there's a direct impact in terms of the revenue losses that happens to the PTOs, and we all know that PTOs work at a very tight budget. So bringing in efficiency becomes all the more important. So that's one of the major challenges. And the second point that I wanted to mention was getting the right business model is also very, very important, right? Because that's where I personally felt that unless and until you have the right mix or the right balance, because it's a public service, whereas you also need to earn money out of this entire thing. So that perfect right balance of the revenue model, which is a self-sustaining model, is also a very big challenge today in all our transit implementation. So having said that, how did I face all these challenges and all? Frankly speaking, I took one step at a time. So I didn't kind of try to do too many things together. We have these. So the moment you have a complex ecosystem, it's always better to break it into smaller challenges so that you address it properly. So there are 3-4 key learnings that I got from implementation of FASTag, right? And I'll just summarize them. And the first important learning was any government projects, that you undertake, there are multiple stakeholders. And it's very, very important for us to map these stakeholders properly, and also to ensure that no stakeholder is actually kind of given a lesser importance, because within that ecosystem, everyone plays a very, very critical role, right? So for example, when we were implementing FASTag, there are so many stakeholders apart from NHAI, IHMCL being the primary sponsors. We have all these member banks. So today we have 24 member banks issuing FASTag. They have their ASPs, application service provider, who is providing the solution. We have tag vendors who are providing tags, right? And we have concessioners who have implemented this technology, and concessioners, they have their system integrators. So taking all of them together becomes a huge challenge. And believe me, if you don't take them together, you're not going to succeed. So if you feel that the system integrator, who is the smallest guy or doesn't have a say, then you just have it. I mean, you don't kind of move forward. So that's most important lesson that I learned, that every stakeholder is important and you have to take everyone along. Then only you will succeed in this. A lot of us, especially in the payment sides of the business, we focus on technology a little more. That's the realization that I got in, that I think operational challenges, especially in the transit and tolling space, are much greater than technology. Because today technology is very simple in terms of solving any problem, but somehow we forget how we kind of fix the operational process also along with the technological implementation. So that's one of the key learnings that I got and kind of helped me to kind of scale through and kind of scale up this FASTag business across. The third important lesson or the approach that I took was there was I have this strong belief that there is no perfect solution, right? If we wait for the perfect solution, obviously you will never be able to implement stuff. So, giving the example of FASTag, when we approached this entire program, the biggest challenge we faced was that all the toll plazas were on a batch processing module because of the network connectivity at various toll plazas, right? And as NPCI, we were very clear that we want to have a real-time transactions through APIs and all, and we kind of pushed forward for that. Because we understood, because the ecosystem says that if a vehicle goes through, the transaction gets processed within 30 minutes, 1 day. I mean, there was a TAT up to 3 days. So it was a very, very bad customer experience. So we were very clear that we want to make it at least near real time, because obviously these have to be offline transactions. We got into a stalemate because the system integrators who had implemented had spent a lot of time, money, and kind of created this ecosystem. So changing that again would have taken a lot of time. So we went ahead with it and we kind of continuously improved on it. And it's like last year we started implementing APIs, and that also we just kind of completed 100 toll plazas out of the 750. So there's no perfect solution. You always have to continuously improvise, build on it, and continue to kind of move forward. And the last thing was obviously to crack the business model, and that's what I was suggesting on. So business model should ensure that you are bringing in efficiency. I mean, the business model, first of all, have to be very clear that you address efficiency, you cut leakages, you kind of increase the customer base. So when we are looking at transit operators, right, why do they want to have an open loop or a national common mobility card? It's primarily because then every customer in the city kind of has some or the other credit card or a debit card which can be used as a payment mode, right? So you increase that base. You have to cut the leakages. You have to bring in more efficiency. Sajal was talking about the particular throughput problem that have, be it the metro gates or be it at the toll plaza. So the business model has to just ensure that they bring in these attitudes, they address these attributes and kind of bring in more value. So that's something that we again did it in FASTag. We created a viable business model, and that's how we see a lot of adoption which is happening. So that's the key learnings, and the how I kind of approach these challenges.
Yeah, that's a fantastic job of summarizing years of experience like a 5-minute answer. I want to get in Abhijit over here now, because Abhijit is on the other side, right? So he's running a business, he's been running a business, a startup in the transit space, right? I want to get a little bit of his perspective now. Abhijit, what were your learnings, when you implemented FASTag? I mean, number one, two things. Number one, what are your learnings? Secondly, for the audience, can we talk a little bit about NCMC? What are the different types of systems? I thought it would be good to get that understanding from you.
So the challenges when FASTag was introduced, I guess it was seamless, but as taking it from what Denny just currently said, there's never a perfect system. So you have to evolve with the complete system. And right now, when we look at the complete implementation which has happened in the toll plaza, the way Denny just said, we have upgraded to newer APIs, which are helping the transaction to happen on a near real-time basis. And this is reducing a lot of chaos which used to happen initially when the overall FASTag was being implemented. Taking it from here, now, when I speak about FASTag as a system in the complete transit, the reason why FASTag has been accepted and it's been widely accepted by a lot of consumers is because first, it is interoperable. Second, it's scalable. It's already been proved. More to do with this, there are other implemented use cases along with it. You can use the same FASTag for rest of the use cases. Now, today we are just talking about toll, which has been rolled out on the nationwide. Now, look at the other opportunities like paying fuel, parking, and you can even collect challans through FASTag tomorrow. So it's a unique ID. Now you just keep FASTag as a unique ID in between, and you can create all the layers around it. That's what we have been doing, and that's what as OnePay comes into the complete experience. We are using the complete FASTag as a unique ID and creating use cases around it. So the experience has been amazing since our core focus area is bees on the logistic part of the business, and we are focusing on that. And with the help of toll transactions happening, we understand a lot of spending and with the data which we are getting in, and we are creating more use cases for these logistics guys as we want them to digitize their as many expenses which they are making while the vehicle is on the go through FASTag and digital medium. So comparing FASTag in the current scenario with the overall NCMC and other cards, I guess FASTag has already gone way ahead when it comes to the interoperability part. Unless and until you don't have an interoperable system, the scalability will not increase. And that's what I would like to summarize with. We need to be interoperable. We already, as Denny said, we have our credit cards and debit cards and wallets and UPI to do transaction. Now, if I have to carry and if I am hopping between one to another city and using various transit medium to do for traveling, I cannot have various cards for that. It becomes too inconvenient for a customer to do it. So one card, one nation, one card is what we are talking about. It has to be interoperable across all the places where I can use it and other use cases also.
That's very interesting. So because what you're also talking about is that this one card doesn't just, from a founder point of view, right, from a business point of view, for the founders who are watching this, it doesn't just give you, solve the problem of transit. That example, for example, tolls, but you can use it for other use cases like parking, right, fuel payments, right?
Yeah.
It's future proof, which I think is fantastic. We got a couple of questions from the audience, and one of them is kind of related to this one, so I want to stay on that. The question is, and what role do government initiatives vis-a-vis private sector play in the role of adoption of transit payments? And I think this is a very important question given, Denny, you just spoke about how the entire ecosystem has to come together. So I'm going to give you the first option to go to it, and then to the other panelists as well.
Okay, so I think any successful transit operation can only work with a very strong government-private partnership. Okay, because when we look at transit, we are talking about mass customers, right? And if you have to solve mass customer problems, then you need everyone. There's not one single entity can kind of make a difference. So to give you a classic example, so today we collect 75 crores daily revenue on the tolls on FASTag. Okay. When we started off, or for that matter, in fact, a year back, 75 crore was the actual daily collection of NHAI on a daily basis, right? So today we are 75. The actual collection is almost gone to 95. So there's still a little bit of cash component, but the fact remains that we have reached here because the government initiative was very strong for FASTag program. If you look at it, the various mandate which came from MORTH. Okay, so just to give you some perspective, December 2016 we launched this program, right, with just 4 banks. December 2017 there was a MORTH notification which we were able to successfully kind of get into the market, where every new vehicles in category M and N, which is basically 4-wheelers and above, would need to have a FASTag before it is actually sold off to a customer. So that process got implemented. So that's how we started building up that entire base. Okay. December 2019, the government kind of came back and mandated that all lanes at the toll plaza have to be FASTag enabled. So that's where the concessionaires started doing it, right? Now, these were the initiatives taken by the government side. And on the private side, the banks started to become super aggressive. They kind of contacted all these dealerships. So today, when you buy a vehicle, you have a FASTag, which is just like buying an insurance, and they are creating a lot of point of sales. They are creating a lot of enabling the FASTag sale through their branches. There's online tag issuance that has happened, right? And this propels the growth for any future use case. So today I'm working on parking use cases, right? So unless and until you have this strong private government kind of push, things don't move forward. I hope I have answered this question.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I'm going to get Sajal also in for a bit. But, a good example is actually from the space sector, right? If you look at the space sector and what ISRO has done a lot in space with a fraction of the budget that NASA has got. And if you read Abdul Kalam's books, right, or some books on ISRO, you will realize that one of the key reasons why they were able to do it quickly and efficiently at a lower budget was because of the public-private partnership, and it comes out so clearly everywhere. I also want to get in Sajal because Paytm Payments Bank is, of course, one of the biggest issuers of FASTag, right? And Sajal, your thoughts on how private sector can drive the adoption of transit and in turn drive the adoption of payments as well through transit payments.
Okay. So Denny did talk about multiple stakeholders being involved in the system, right? And transit is a complex system. There are thousands of stakeholders, literally, right? Wherever we look at, and the problem with having multiple stakeholders is that you might build a very, very good solution which benefits all the stakeholders, but getting them all on a single table and start talking happens for two reasons. One, a viable business model, financial model, so to say, and second, government intervening to getting it done, right? So Denny did talk about how both of these things work beautifully in the case of FASTag, right? One of the key challenges that NCMC has today is that there are so many regulatory authorities, so many ministries who are involved that even getting all of this common push outside becomes a challenge, right? You did talk about how private sector plays a role in scaling it up, right? So in a pure play open loop system, in a pure play democratically enabled transaction system, everyone has equal opportunity. What this essentially means is that everyone is competing for that share of customers, right? And the day that when you come to that stage where literally every bank or every private entity is competing for the share of customers, it automatically yields into a far better outcome, right? Why? Because basically more competition means you will fight that much harder to get more customers, which essentially means you'll get so much more penetration. You will work on your cost margins, right? I will not create a profit pool inside when there's so much more market to take on, right? And literally people can take my market if I don't go there first, right? So I will work on getting the best cost optimization in the market, which essentially means my customer benefit the most, right? And last but not the least important factor is you work on technology upgradation. You try and ensure that your FASTag experience is the best. You try and ensure your NCMC experience is the best. And that is where you try and win in the market. So all of these together essentially builds a more equitable, more distributed, and more beneficial ecosystem for everyone involved, right? And see, this is again where a little bit of government intervention also comes into play, right? In a typical new implementation, there will always be parties who have a lot of power in the system. When I say power, it basically could mean that you have been working in the system for 10s or 20s of years, so you know the system very well, or you just have a lot of financial backing to go in, right? Or there could be third. I'm not talking about power in a traditional sense. I'm just talking about knowledge capital. I'm talking about financial capital and all of those kind of things, right? The problem is when these players come in, they can literally create walled gardens inside the system, which create a bit of a challenge, because the moment these walled gardens starts existing, the scope of innovation starts going down. A lot of small players come in and build really disruptive solutions, right? We have seen that happening in FASTag itself. We have seen that happening all over the world in different use cases. And basically getting that whole public, oversight or public government control on the system to ensure that it remains an equitable and evenly distributed system will basically means that the private player compete on the right parameters, compete on the right metrics, and basically build something big, right? So one of the reasons why Paytm ended up doing so well in FASTag is because we ended up focusing a lot on our product. We just tried and ensured that our customer basically were happiest when they're using FASTag. I just went and saw what my other competition was doing and what more I can do better, right? And that helped me gain a lot of market share. And that is where the competition should go into. Exactly. And probably that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, if I may add to that, Sandeep, sorry. That's a very interesting point that Sajal made, right? The private players bring in competition. In fact, when we had sat down on the drawing board along with NHA and Ministry way back in 2016, this was one point that always kept up, right? Who are the people who are going to come into this ecosystem? So we kept on saying that on the issuance side, we just have to open it up. Anyone who's making the investment, who's willing to come in, because those are the people who will kind of really drive this business. They will come in, they will innovate, they will ensure they bring in kind of their customer base, and they kind of capture that market accordingly. So private participation does bring in a lot of competition, and we have seen that entire evolution happening in the FASTag space, where now so many issuers are giving, so it's no more a commodity, right? It started off as a commodity, as in only a toll payment instrument, right? But people are now kind of evolving how we can add value to their customers by doing more.
Just to add up what just Denny said, let us understand the role of a government in pushing the FASTag. So now, since they have made it mandatory, the problem what they are trying to resolve is they are trying to create a transparency in the overall system by getting FASTag. So whatever the operational leakages were there, and as Denny said previously, NHI used to collect 75 crores on a daily basis, and that's what we have already achieved through FASTag. And now 20 crores more is being accepted in other form of money. The overall money gets to 95 crores. So the important part out here is we are missing the bigger picture. Now, since government has made it mandatory and the private sector has got into it, put the complete investments, everything going well, creating more use cases. But see the opportunity which you have got out here, since it's been made mandatory, the people who are there in tier 3 and tier 4 cities who might have a vehicle but don't use digital mediums to do any transactions are being looked forward to do this. This is somewhere we are trying to educate the market with this FASTag as a use example. Imagine those guys also coming onto the overall systems and using the FASTag because it's been made mandatory. They have to. If they have to drive down through the toll plazas, they need to have FASTag. They need to buy a new vehicle, the FASTag has to get registered. Important is, finally, even if they have to get insurance, they need to have this thing. So to summarize, we are also adding new customers into the complete digital space through the help of FASTag, and thanks to government for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Couple of more questions are there from the audience. There's a lot of audience interest today, so I'm going to take some of this audience questions first. So you briefly touched upon a couple of points on competition and use cases, right? Innovation is the key. So what I'm interested to know, and specifically from Abhijit and Sajal here, what are the other use cases that would add a lot of value according to you to customers, right? Given that you are working with customers so closely.
I'll take this. So see, I did in the beginning talk about the 2 key journeys, the shared transit journey and the individual transit journey, right? To basically get this journey digitized, right? At the end of the day, you need to have a hero use case. In the case of individual transit journey, that hero use case is probably FASTag, right? You get FASTag on toll, and then you extend that FASTag to fuel payments, you extend that to parking payments, and that's where you start getting the whole ecosystem on right? In the case of shared transit journey, that use case, that hero use case is probably metros, where you are going in with the NCMC. You get the metros to start accepting and start propagating NCMC first, and then you start growing it further down the line, right? The whole NCMC structure anyways is designed in such a way that it becomes a debit card, right? It does a lot of other payments beyond just the transit payments, beyond just the metro payments. and getting that hero use case, so to say, or that major use case solved, getting the customer adoption in first is probably the first thing that you would like to do, and then go into other use cases once you have a certain level of maturity and certain level of network effect already in place. So yeah, so that's I think is what I would say.
Sandeep, you're on mute. Sandeep, you're on mute.
Mute, yeah.
Sorry about that. So there's one more question, and this is a question which I actually like from one of the audience again here. How do you leverage cloud-based payment infrastructure in transmit payments as the volumes are high? I'm going to give it open to the panel here on using cloud-based infrastructure to manage the volumes, given there's going to be a lot of scale with the growth. Usage varies during the time of the day, time of the year as well.
So Sandeep, I'll take the first go on it. Sajal mentioned on the shared transit experience, right? And so let's take a case of Mumbai. So Mumbai, if you look at all the transit operators within bus, there are multiple transit operators. There's BEST, there is Thane Municipal, there is New Mumbai Municipality, right? On the local train front, we have three lines, okay? And there are multiple, I mean, Uber and this thing. So if you look at it, if I have to, and there's obviously Metro, right? So if we have to implement this open loop transit solution with one single this thing, every transit operators would have to make those changes, those integration in their AFC system, right? Automatic fare collection system. And that's where the challenge is, because the kind of investment that goes in for each of these implementation is really, really pretty high. And if you look at the entire transit operating costs, that's where the first challenge comes in. Having a cloud-based solution becomes more cost-effective. It's easy to implement also, and it's just an integration at a what do you say, with the core engines of each of these transit operators. So that brings in a lot of flexibility and a lot of cost saving. And I believe that it's the right time now people start looking at that kind of a solution. If we have to have this one card, one nation, one card free. Yeah.
Abhijit, Sajal, would you also want to take a reply to it?
So yeah, so I guess Denny has completely summarized it in a much better format. So API is going to be the biggest key, and having the overall system there in the cloud, eventually for an entrepreneur like us, it saves a lot of money when we come to it. And managing the complete infrastructure in a cloud is much better than rather, having physical service for the same. So I take what Denny is saying. Eventually, the world is working onto that, and we should also work onto the same grounds. I agree to what Denny just said. So that's what my take is. I would put it that way.
Awesome. So, I mean, of course, I represent AWS here. So happy to help out from our end, whatever we can do to accelerate this innovation at both your end at NPCI, Abhijit for you, Sajal for you.
For sure.
Most of the payment companies anyway use us. So happy to help and accelerate. I have, I've got a message that there are just 2 minutes left. So I want to kind of just, one final question. And Denny, do you see a comparison between what payments did for what UPI did for payments and what FASTag is doing for transit payments here? Is there a comparison that we can put in? Denny, you're on mute.
Mute.
Yeah, so definitely there is a comparison in terms of how both these things have changed the way people pay, right? So when we look at UPI now, the kind of transactions that we are doing, it's phenomenal, and it has reached to every nook and corner, and people are using UPI to make even a 6 rupees or a 10 rupees payment, right? So that's the beauty of democratizing this entire payment space with UPI. Similarly, what we are doing with FASTag, I mean, obviously, there's a government push per se in terms of mandating it. But the fact remains that I think I'll give a perspective on the recent pandemic, right? What we are also doing is that we are actually making a contactless payment with these instruments, right? So that's the most important thing, because this is not the first of the pandemics that is going to happen. We have to keep this context and kind of continue build on it. But there is also a stark difference, right? So when we talk about UPI, it's a mobile application, and I mean Sajal is there, and Sajal's counterpart, kind of when they entered the space in the first time, and way back in 2016, faced this challenge because Paytm was so strong on the app side, but when they actually entered the FASTag space. Here we are talking about a physical tag to be dispatched to the customer, right? And then there is a customer journey for that also. So obviously, on the acquiring side, you have to actually go to the toll plaza, integrate, and all those stuff. So whatever can be done in UPI digitally, both in terms of issuance as well as in acquiring, here you need to have that physical presence. So you need to have so many people to kind of enable this. So that's a stark difference in terms of the implementation part of it. But from a customer journey, yes, you can draw that conclusion as to both are on the right path, and I'm enabling a contactless journey for the customer.
Awesome. We are at the top of the hour, and actually, I just got a message that we are over time now. So, but I think that was a fantastic way to end the thing as well, saying that how our transfer payments is actually having a kind of revolution similar to what payments had with UPI. I would like to thank all of you so much. I know we were short on time. I wish we had like double the time to discuss this topic. It's super interesting. Thank you so much, Denny, Sajal, Abhijit, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Shivani, I give the stage back to you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Lakshman. Thank you all our speakers for making this discussion so engaging. And special thanks to our audience and our sponsors, our silver partner Zika and Paytm, knowledge partner PwC, and our design partner Ethinos. Thank you, everyone. We do have other panel discussions, so please stay tuned. Thank you, everyone. We are signing off.
Thank you.